Fell into a can of cream, or so I've heard it told. The sides of the can were shiny and deep. The cream was deep and cold. Oh, what's the use, croaked number one. This fate, there's no help around. Goodbye, my friends, goodbye, cruel world. And weeping still he drowned. But number two, of sterner stuff, dog paddled in surprise, while he wiped his creamy face and dried his creamy eyes. I'll swim a while at least, he said, or so I've heard he said. It wouldn't really help the world if one more frog was dead. An hour or two he kicked and swam, not once he stopped to mutter, but once he kicked and swam and kicked, he hopped out via butter. Today's lesson, as we wrap up our theme for this month of July, and consciousness never takes a vacation. That's been our theme for the whole month. So we're going to look at frogs. Okay, we're going to look at butter. We're not going to do that either. What we are going to do, though, is we're going to look at the kicking and the swimming part, the swim and the kicking part, because indirectly we are in these activities of, what this second frog did was the activity of persistence and determination. So that's what we're going to look at as we navigate ourselves through life, because life has these ups and downs. It has all of this stuff that goes on. So we need to have these tools to navigate through life. And as we endeavor to live our lives in passion, in excitement, and in joy, yes, it is all possible. Fulfilling our dreams and living that higher purpose, right here and right now. We can, if we're not focused and use these practical spiritual tools, we can fall, and we will fall, into that can of cream. But it's how are we going to navigate? How are we going to take that can of cream? And even though we may get thrown a curve, it doesn't mean that we should give up our highest vision for ourselves, because I really believe that Spirit, the God, the infinite source of all good, has this higher vision for each and every one of us. When we do a visioning session, the first question is, what is God's highest vision of whatever that you are visioning for? So it's, what is this? So I believe that the infinite has this high vision for us. So let's align ourselves with our vision and with the higher vision, which is within each and every one of us. So if God's vision is for us, then what be against us truly? And Ernest Holmes wrote about this in the Science of the Mind book, where he says, anything that will enable us to express greater life, greater happiness, greater power, so long as it does not harm anyone, must be the will of God for us. It must be the will of God the good. And Patty said it in her opening prayer, which is perfect. God the good. God is good. It's synonymous. The goodness of God. It's there for all of us. So it always supports us. And that's what we need to remember. When we're in those ups and downs, when we're in that cream of life, if you will, it's important to know that we are taking this trip toward our dreams. Our goals and our visions are not always going to unfold in a straight line. In fact, energy doesn't even move in a straight line. You know, it doesn't move in a straight line. So it's impossible. That is impossible energy, because it doesn't move that way. It moves in spirals. It moves in like the shape of our DNA. So sometimes we feel that our light burns really brightly. Sometimes we're really aligned and we're in the flow and we really feel like that 150-watt bulb. But there are times where we might feel like a 25-watt bulb on our way out, possibly. But that's because we're off course. That's because we're off course. And so when we feel like that 25-watt bulb on the way out, that's when it's so very, very important that we need to get back on course, And we keep on keeping on, as they say. So we kick and we swim, and we swim and we kick. But we do this with persistence and determination that our lives be filled with that good that we know is there because we've experienced it. So we all have times where we might not be experiencing quite so brightly, but it's still present. It's still present. It never fails, like the law of electricity. When I talk about light bulbs, it just never fails. It's always there, but we have to remember to turn on, to plug into that electricity in order for the light to burn within us. As an old football coach used to tell his team, when the going gets tough, the tough go shopping. I said that. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. I go. So, in a Hagar the Horrible cartoon, the Viking Hagar and his sidekick are talking, and Hagar says, I realize we're lost. But always remember, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I know, said the sidekick. And so there's a second frame in this cartoon strip, and it's showing an expanded, vast wasteland. And the sidekick says, but which way do we go? So you're lost, and you're in this whole area of choice of all kinds of opportunities. Which way do we go? So when the going gets tough, we go the way of God. We go the way of God. We stay the course of light, which is the name of this talk. We stay the course of light. We remember that we are connected and created from the great power of the universe. That is our source of all good, forever and always. Whatever we're going through, that does not change. It doesn't change. And you know, it might be easy for me to stand up here and to say this, but it's not sometimes quite as easy to do because of we get lured off course. We get lured off. Things happen in life and we forget for a moment. We have an incredible metaphor. We've been doing a whole month of metaphors too. So the metaphor for getting lured off course is appearing it does appear in the biblical scriptures at Judges chapter 16. It's the story of Samson and Delilah. And those who've just completed our Prosperity Plus class know that Mary Morrissey has a powerful class based on that story. So I'm just going to go over it briefly here to show you how we can stay the course. A man named Samson was blessed with the gift of incredible strength. Samson's might was immense, so immense that the Israelites depended on it to defend them from the Philistines. But Samson did as many of us do. He allowed himself to be lured off course. He was tempted and he succumbed. Now, as I recount the story of Samson and Delilah, I want you to be thinking, what is my Delilah? What is my Delilah? What gets me off course from fully expressing my God light? Just keep that in your consciousness. So Samson flirted with a woman in the enemy camp. Her name is Delilah. And she asked Samson, how do you get all that strength? He played with her, pretending to give away his secret. He's just playing with it, confessing. First he told her, if he were tied with 7 fresh bowstrings not yet dried, he would be rendered as weak as the next guy. So she did that. But he broke when he woke up that next morning, he broke them as if they were threads. Next he said to her, if they bind me securely with new ropes that have never been used, then I shall become weak and be like any other man. She did that while he slept. And when he awoke, he broke free again. So the third time he told her, if you weave the 7 locks of my head into the web of the loom, then I shall become weak. Of course she did this, and yet again, to no avail, he broke loose. He was stronger than ever. Now you think at some point that Samson would have figured out this woman was bad news. He would have thought that, but he chose to ignore the obvious. And how often have we done that? How often has it been like in our face and we don't even acknowledge it. We ignore the obvious. We ignore our Delilahs. So finally, she pressed him daily with her words and urged him, and his soul was vexed to death, to quote from the Lamb's, George Lamb's translation of the Bible. And he blurted out, "If I am shaven, then my strength will leave me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man." Delilah wasted no time in getting the news of this discovery to the Philistines. And then she lulled Samson to sleep on her lap and called for a man to shave his head. When the Philistines arrived, the weakened Samson could not fight them. He couldn't fight them. They plucked out his eyes and took him to prison, where he was harnessed to the millstone to grind grain. And that is a powerful metaphor for each and every one of us. For one reason or another, most of us can get off course at one time or another. It happens as part of our human experience. But it's those are the times when our power can come forth if we are persistent, if we use our spiritual tools that we are learning here, if we really use them and don't go under with them, like the first frog. Nope. So, what I asked you in the beginning, what are your Delilahs in your life? So you think about that. The thing that keeps you grinding away, that keeps you going round and round in circles, replaying the same patterns over and over again in your life, where you have no vision. That's the whole symbology of the eyes being plucked out. Our vision is removed. And having a powerful vision is one of our strongest. That's the whole point about 10-week class, is coming from the vision, holding our dreams, and coming from the place of our vision. So there's many different forms of Delilahs in our life, and they don't show up waving banners saying, "I'm here to destroy you." Okay, they kind of sneak in. They kind of just like edge their way into our lives. And a lot of them aren't as good looking as this Delilah here. They may just simply feel comfortable, familiar. Something that it might not be feeling good, but we know it, and we're comfortable with it, because it's happened before. So even though it doesn't feel good, it's keeping us down. It's keeping us from expressing our greater vision. And it could be something like allowing other people to affect you, self-destructive traits, seeing only lack, illness, not doing our spiritual practices, not using these spiritual tools. And it could be all these kinds of things, making personal decisions that really don't serve our highest good. So here's Samson, eyes plucked out, to continue the story, just lost his vision. Just as we lose sight of our light, our vision, our goals, we disconnect from source when we do that. We disconnect from our vision, our light, because we are pure light. We're energy, we are light. That is the truth of our being. That is the truth of our being. So as Samson is grinding away at that millstone, he realizes his hair is starting to grow back. If you don't know the second part of that story. His hair is starting to grow back. So he was getting a second chance to allow his light to shine. And so during this time, the Philistines and their leaders, feeling pretty triumphant over having squashed Samson, ordered him brought to the temple so they could ridicule him. And they ordered him to stand between these two pillars at the temple that supported the temple. Samson called to God, "Remember me and strengthen me." He reached out his arms with every ounce of his strength, and he pushed those two pillars down, and that entire temple fell down, killing everybody in it, including Samson. But, Samson died a triumphant human death because he was fulfilling his destiny. He fulfilled his vision and he protected the Israelites. He protected them. So his journey was finished, but he stayed true. And so the thing to remember in that is we all get second chances, third chances, fourth chances. We get limitless chances to start over again. One thing doesn't work out the way we think it should work out doesn't mean that's it. No. We get, like Samson, we grow more and we grow more. We get second, third, fourth, as many chances as we desire. So this is all to turn our vision back inward to our life and to know what it is that we want to express in this world, in this human experience that we're having. And you might ask, how do I do this? You know, easy said, because Ernest Holmes did write about that. And he was quoting from Matthew in the Bible, but he gave his explanation of it. He says, if our eye is single, we shall be filled with light. We must cleave to the good and trust absolutely in the law of God to bring about any desired end. Spirit will mold our purposes when we allow it to do so. As we learn to depend, he writes, more and more upon the perfect law, we shall find that the outward things which are necessary for our good will be provided. We shall be cared for as the lilies of the field, which live directly on divine bounty, and yet they toil not, nor do they spin. So, here is something I invite you to set your eye on. Your eye, that inner eye on. We are told in the biblical scripture that in the first chapter of Genesis that we are made in the image and the likeness of God. And that when God looked upon us after it created us, it said, this is good. This is very good. This is good. So, I'd like you to repeat after me. I am made in the image and likeness of God, and all is good, very good.
I am made in the image and likeness of God, and all is good, very good.
Now put your hands over your chest. I'm going to say it again. I am made in the image and likeness of God, and all is good, very good.
I am made in the image and likeness of God, and all is good, very good.
And so close your eyes with your hands over your chest and say it with feeling. I am made in the image and likeness of God, and all is good, very good. Now I'd like you to just turn to a person next to it and say, you are made in the image and likeness of God, and all is good, very good.
You are made in the image and likeness of God, and all is good, very good.
And just one more time say, I am made in the image. That person, I am made in the image of God. All is good, very good. So doesn't that feel good?
Yes.
I mean, it feels good to claim this, to align with it. Make sure everybody got it.
We had to get David over there.
We start to stimulate things we didn't even know that were in there. We start to move it. We're moving the energy within us, because you know we're like the wattage on the light. You know, we're going to turn it up to our 150 watt. No, yeah, we want to do that. We don't want to stay down at the 4 watt, the night light. No, we want to beam our light out there. So how do we stay the course of the light when we fall into that can of cream? We stay focused on our being, on that indwelling, supportive energy, essence, soul, whatever you want to call it, that's within each and every one of us. It's everywhere, it's omnipresent, but it's also within each and every one of us. And so that's the thing that we connect with. We know and trust that there is a power for good, and that power is always supporting us. That is the basis of this entire spirituality, religion, scientific knowledge that is science of mind. That is the basis of it. To know that you are not alone. You are supported, you are guided, you are enlightened by this power within. Just to know that we are supported. You are not alone. Nobody is alone. And so I have a prayer here by Hannah Moore Coas that I think goes nicely with this talk. She writes, God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks with me, guides my way through every moment of the day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am, can do, and be through the light of God that is in me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing, quick. God is my all, I know no fear, since God and love and light are here. So we all have that gift of choice. Because when the Delilahs start showing up in our lives, which they will, because we're having this human experience, why? So we can expand. Because that's what God does. Its purpose is to create and expand itself. And so therefore, as creations out of the nature and the image of God, that is our purpose. So as we expand, we need the contrast. So that's why we're having this human experience together. So when you fall into that can of cream, you can drown like the first frog, or you can be persistent. You can be persistent and kick and swim and know that this truth within you is always there to support you. Again, you have two frogs, so you have the choice. And that's what I'm presenting. It's your choice. You can choose. And so it is.